To adopt the agenda as amended, please. Moved, seconded, all those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. First up, we have item 3.1, which is the regular board meeting minutes of June 26th, 2025. And directors, are there any errors or omissions in those minutes? And seeing no hands, real or virtual, may I have a motion to adopt as presented? Moved, seconded, all those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. All right, moving on in our agenda to item 5.1, which is a delegation. We've got Rick Hopper, the Director of Operations from Coastal Sports and Entertainment Group. So we'll get you to come onto the table and turn it over to you.
It would be advisable.
I mean, it's best if you sit, but you got to use the microphone, so.
I guess he could use the big mic.
I feel like I'm in a dressing room. Stand and talk to you guys.
Give us a pep talk.
There we go. Awesome. Everything good? Is that the way the screen's going to be? Yep. It shows like that here. Good here. There we go. Okay. Thank you. Well, thanks everybody for having me here today. You've already seen slide number 1. I have 10 slides here to go through with you guys. So just a quick introduction. My name is Rick Hopper. I'm the Director of Operations for Coastal Sports and Entertainment Group. We are the company that owns and operates the Coastal Tsunami Junior Hockey Club. I've been in hockey for 8 decades. So this picture that you're looking at here is my father and I. Apparently it's my very first hockey game. I'm 5 years old. The picture was taken in 1959 in Bradford, Ontario. And that's how far back I go as far as the game goes. I've coached, I've played, I've managed, I've scouted, had a 9-year professional coaching career, played junior hockey, college hockey, and here I am today presenting to you guys, having a couple of years under our belts with the Coastal Tsunami. One of the most important things I think we did to start our company off, or our team off, obviously getting the franchise was a very big deal for us and for the Sunshine Coast, and our brand was very important to us. So we had a bit of a process, and we went out into the community, and we had very good community engagement as we introduced the team and tried to get things underway. And so we had a name the team contest, and we had over 200 entries. I think there was like 270 people responded online with different suggestions for names, and we had 4 names that we really liked, so we put those down. They could vote on those, but they could also come up with another option if they wanted to. And funny enough, right before we put that online, one of our owners at the time suggested that it would be really great if we had an outside-the-box name that we never had thought of. And Coastal Tsunami came in the first 15 minutes we were running the contest. It was one of the first entries that we had, and it really appealed to us. And what we really liked was that it sort of brought the entire community into the picture. I live up in Powell River, and our community is not as spread out as this one here. And we understood, at least we do now, I didn't understand, but I do now, how vast the population base is. You guys deal with it all the time. You're the regional district board, and so we thought to appeal to the entire community, which we felt we did with Coastal Tsunami. We took that name, we went online to an online graphic design outfit, and we got 7 different designs back. We took what we liked out of that and approached John Ridd from Top Shelf Creative, and he came up with our logo, which we've had lots of positive feedback and whatnot. And we really felt that this name and logo really brought the entire community together to make it a community team for the Sunshine Coast. Our opening night was a well-attended event. It was really interesting. About a week prior to that game, we have a board of directors meeting with the league, and I told all the guys at that meeting, make sure you tell your parents that when they come to Gibson's to pre-buy their tickets online or they won't get in. Well, they didn't believe that. We had about 30 parents from the visiting team sitting in the lobby going, what do you mean we can't buy tickets? It was sold out. So it was fantastic. I let them all in for 20 bucks a head, but you know, it was a fantastic night. This picture shows, it's kind of unique, the picture. You'll notice there's a goaltender taking the opening face-off. So we were rather unique last year. Nick Peters, a young lad from Powell River, was our starting goaltender, and the kids picked him as the captain of our team, which is unusual in hockey to have a goalie as a captain. But he's taking the opening face-off. The opposing players, the captain of Port Moody Panthers who were playing, Stu Frizzell, Silas, myself, Trevor Alto, our league commissioner, and you can see Len there with his arm in the background, trying to get into the picture as well. Everybody's hanging on the puck, and we dropped the puck. So it was a pretty exciting night. It was really well done. So the PJHL is going to enter next year with 16 teams in total. But their attendance, literally, if you go to a game, you're lucky if they have 200 people in their stands. We absolutely shattered. They don't keep attendance records. If they did, we shattered it for sure. We averaged 500 plus people a game. We had over 15,000 fans over the course of our 24 games, and it was just fantastic. Julie Reeves, our sole owner, she kept assuring me that the people would show up, and did they ever? I did not anticipate that good of attendance. I knew it would be good, but I didn't think it would be that good. It was fantastic. So we had a decent season for a first-year team. I think we probably did as well as any expansion franchise has ever done entering their league. You have to understand that we literally, for the franchise fee, which was quite a bit of money, you got nothing. You basically got an opportunity to play in their league. So there's no players available to you or whatnot. So it was, we didn't have a puck or a player, as I like to say. So we managed to put a fairly competitive group on the ice for sure. Even by Christmas time, we were still in the hunt for a playoff spot. It didn't work out quite that way, but in 48 games, we won 19, we lost 27, tied 1. We finished 7th in our division. We were 11th overall in the entire league. Had we been in the other division, we in fact would have made the playoffs. So I think I've sat in front of you guys before and explained what happens with junior hockey, and there's a lot of community outreach. So what we did this past year, and we've done a little bit more of it this spring, but working with minor hockey age players, we have a spring team program. For the last 2 years, we've had a minimum of 3 spring teams that we've put together, and that's a combination of lower Sunshine kids, Sunshine Coast kids, and Powell River kids. So it's been quite popular, and we'll build that program as we move along. We offer a spring skills academy program that gets fairly well attended as well. Our summer development camps last year we're slow to start. This year we're definitely got better numbers, stronger numbers. We run goalie clinics. We have a shared coaching staff. So our associate coach, Cayman Frode, who's a local guy, he works for us and works for minor hockey full-time. And then new for this coming year, we are going to do a partnership program with Sunshine Coast Minor Hockey with First Shift. This picture here is me with this young fellow. It's kind of a cute story. This little guy, he's 4 years old, he's in Powell River, and when he went on the ice, this is his first day, and we went on the ice, he literally could barely stand up, and he could only push with 1 foot. That's all he could do. And I said, buddy, see those boards down there? He goes, yeah. I said, you go down there and come back and let me know when you get back. Well, an hour later, there he was at my knee. And he looked up at me, I said, buddy, you are awesome, right? So afterwards, I'm walking by him and his mom. His mom comes up to me, he said, I just asked him how he did. He says, I'm awesome, Mom. So it's a really good program. It's meant to introduce young kids to hockey, not necessarily even hockey. It's just sort of like I say, if they have a smile on their face and they got a sweaty brow, we've done our job. So it's to make them fall in love with hockey. And we kind of rebuilt Powell River Minor Hockey with a first shift program, and we're starting it here this year as well. So we're kind of putting Sunshine Coast on the hockey map. If you're not in the business, you don't realize the extent that hockey reaches out right across North America and all over Europe and whatnot. We're not allowed to recruit out of Europe. I actually had a German coach here this spring working with us, and we could entertain bringing lots of European players in here if we wanted, but we're not able to. Hockey Canada doesn't allow it. Last year, we had 17 BC hockey players in our group, 7 Sunshine Coast players, 4 kids from the United States, 2 from Manitoba, and 2 from Saskatchewan. This young fellow that you see here is 19-year-old Cage Starr. Cage is an Indigenous kid from Carry the Kettle First Nation in Saskatchewan, and he is the junior chief of Saskatchewan for the Indigenous people, Cree Nation in Saskatchewan. He was our captain for a good part of last season. Really good kid. He's interested in becoming a lawyer. He spends quite a bit of time with in the summer and the off season doing various things for First Nation there, and he's interested in pursuing post-secondary when he's done. Great kid. So into the future. You guys probably wouldn't follow junior hockey too much, but there is lots of changes going on in the hockey business. This past year, the NCAA, which is the National Collegiate Athletic Association, which is the American school, university, and college system, they announced that CHL players, which is Canadian Hockey League, Western Hockey League players, are now allowed to be given Division I college scholarships in the States. And this has set the business right on its ear. Now, for most people, you just go, oh, great. So these kids now who never have been able to pursue college hockey in the States, they now can. But what's really been interesting is they have in the United States, and they've had it for about a decade now, it's something called NIL, N-I-L, and it stands for Name, Image, and Likeness. And so what these schools have been doing is they hire staff inside their athletic departments to go out and find sponsorship and advertising dollars that they can then pay players to play college sports. So to give you a case in point, the Medicine Hat Tigers of the Western Hockey League just participated in the Memorial Cup National Championship here this past year. They have a superstar 17-year-old by the name of Gavin McKenna, who's from Whitehorse, Yukon on their team. He's leaving their team next year to play at Penn State University, and they are paying him $700,000 to go to school. So the University of Texas football program has $30 million that they pay players to play college football. So it's really going to change hockey in a big way, from the pros right down to junior hockey. We're really not sure what impact eventually it'll have on a team like ours, but it will. For this coming year, the province of BC has not been involved in true junior A hockey for at least 3 years now. The BCHL left Hockey Canada and left the province without junior A representation. So they approached our league and the KIJHL, which exists up in the interior, and wanted to see who would want to try junior A hockey. So we made an application. We were one of 7 teams successful to be selected to be a junior A Tier 1 team for the upcoming hockey season. What that means is that there's a national championship called the Centennial Cup that happens Canada-wide. It definitely will have higher exposure in the hockey world and really starts putting us on the map. Now, we've got a long way to go to match the teams that compete for that championship, but at least we have the foot in the door and we can get started. And what it means for us as a group and as a operation moving forward, most of you, probably all of you, have been in the GAC and saw the improvements that were made last year for our inaugural season. And it was excellent. We work with the Junior Hockey Society, and they did a great job in getting the bucket seating in, the standing up bar, and all that type of stuff. but to move forward into the new world of junior A hockey, we definitely need to continue the process and the upgrading of the facility. We're not asking you people to necessarily do that. We've had conversations with Shelley and her staff about the future and what we're going to require and how we're going to get there and how we're going to raise the money to do those things. But it's definitely going to be high on our priority list moving forward. We've had certain discussions about fundraising and all that sort of stuff and how we can work together to make that happen. I had a 5-year contract with our company. When I started, I'm 2 years in. Now I have 3 years remaining, and I hope at the end of 3 years that we at least have the puzzle solved as to how we're going to get that and improve the facility and whatnot. But it's been a great ride so far. We've had fantastic support from your staff, and moving forward, we're just going to keep working hard to see if we can accomplish those goals. I hope in 3 years' time we'll see more improvements inside the facility, and I really look forward to working with Shelley and her staff to try and make that happen. So there you are. There's our group at the end of the year. Every year you get official team picture. It's a good-looking group, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. So thank you. Any questions?
That's my line. Thank you, Mr. Hopper, for that presentation. My speakers list is not working, so please just use your physical hands. But just before I go to Director White, I wanted to say that I've only managed to make it to a couple of games this season, but it was incredible to see the community come together for something other than complaining about the ferries. Like, it's a big deal on the coast that, complaining about ferries is practically our regional pastime. And just the atmosphere, win or lose, people there were having fun, they were enjoying, they were cheering. Like, it was an amazing experience. And congratulations to you and everybody behind the scenes.
Thank you.
Involved in this. It's absolutely incredible. So, Director White.
Yeah, I think to add to that, I think it's a really great cross-section of the community that we see at those games too. It's families, and yeah, when you compare it to other community engagement like complaining about the ferries, it's a different kind of group that shows up, and really all ages, and that's really fantastic to see, especially hosting it in one of our public recreation facilities. I had a question about just something that came to my mind during the presentation is when it comes to moving to Junior A Tier 1 and competing for the Centennial Cup, presumably that means a higher standard of players will need to be recruited. And I mean, are we concerned there about when you're needing to reach out more broadly across the country, having less local players? So one thing that was really cool about too is having local kids that we all know and seeing them succeed at this level at the team too. It would be a concern to, I mean, it was great to have that for 1 year, but to jump all the way to needing a higher quality and meaning that local kids, less local kids anyway. Some of them were the best players on the team. So presumably those kids would still be there, but we might have. I'm concerned about having less than
Well,
we had this year.
that's a great question, Silas, and there's no doubt that the higher up you go, the more competitive it is, and the quality of play goes way up. Will there be local kids? The goal is, and the more we work with minor hockey, the better chance kids have of moving up. But the fact of the matter is that it's not easy to play junior A hockey. It's not easy to play junior hockey, let alone junior A hockey. This coming year, there's 2 local kids signed right now. Outside of that, I don't know that we're going to have. We were kind of in a position last year. I shouldn't say 2. There's 3. We're just waiting to hear on Rocky Nordby. Rocky may or may not play this year. But yeah, no, that's a good point. And Powell Rivers lived with that for years and years. They got to a point where it was so good that the local kids were were almost being ignored. I think the team didn't do a very good job working with the local minor hockey to try and develop their talent, but we'll do everything possible to make it happen for local kids. But you're seeing local kids having to leave the Lower Sunshine Coast to go play minor hockey at the AAA and academy levels, right? So, yeah, it is an issue, for sure. Yeah.
Director Inkster.
Thanks, Chair. Through you to thank the two people from the tsunami to come and speak to us. You know, it's great to see. I was a big supporter of it because I've come from communities and had a brother that played, as you know. So it's so glad to see you guys. And I come here and I'm glad to see the success that you're projecting today. And as a Canucks fan, the record you had was actually quite good. Yeah, so that doesn't, it doesn't shock me. That's good. Good for you guys. I think it's better than the Canucks, 5 of the last 10 years. So just in terms of where you are now, is that like the Coquitlam Express? Is that who A, junior A? Because it used to be A and B and major junior and.
There's a lot of changes going on, but no, the Coquitlam Express belong to the BCHL. That's the British Columbia Hockey League, not to be confused with BC Hockey, which is the provincial body of Hockey Canada. So they're a member of the BCHL, and they have got a lot of different rules than what we have. They've introduced a lot of Europeans onto those teams, that sort of thing. So we are completely independent of that. We're a Hockey Canada sanctioned body and play within inside of Hockey Canada. So they are non-sanctioned hockey. It's quite a bit different, so, yeah.
All right, thank you. Next up, Director Stanford.
Thank you. One of the things that I found out last season, which really surprised me, is that players pay to play. And going from B to A, is there a cost difference to their support, and how does that work?
There's certainly a cost difference to the hockey club, but not to the players. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of pressure to reduce the cost to the players because it's very competitive to recruit these players. The better players have better options. So there will be considerable pressure on us to operate our business probably with less player fees as we move forward. And it is a challenge. Junior hockey is a challenge to sustain financially. So it'll be, we have had that discussion around our boardroom table quite a bit. We are one of the more fortunate teams because we actually have a fan base. And the other guys are dealing with their very low fan attendance and whatnot, so they have to get their revenues from another way. But I think you're going to see, 10 years from now, I think player fees will be a lot lower than they are now, to be honest, if we're remaining in Junior A, yeah.
And Director Inkster, you had another question.
Yeah, thanks. By the way, kudos to Julie, who I've known since high school, so I'm glad she stepped up with the family company there to support you guys. An attendance question for you. Did you see, you probably saw the initial part where there was all the excitement around the franchise and everyone coming. I'm wondering if there was a down part in the attendance that goes down around Christmas, maybe came up towards the end, I don't know, and/or when there's playoff pictures, how do we help you increase that? But also in terms of the attendance, do you know, is there any way of measuring, were there people coming from Seashell? The Sunshine Coast Minor Hockey League has a lot of the key people in the Seashell area, as you may know. So they were probably talking about it amongst their group, but I don't know if you had a way of measuring, but it'd be good if we get Seashell more involved, then we can maybe have full attendance all the time, right? Yeah.
I think that it would be easy to actually check that out. I haven't done that. We use a platform called Igniter, and over 90% of our ticket sales were online. So you have to register with your email, and you can quickly find that information out. And I don't know the people in the local community enough to look at it and go, oh yeah, there's a bunch of people from Seashell. But our attendance did not fluctuate one bit. It was steady right through to the point that that you had made about going to the game and everybody's involved in it. I've said to Julie, since we started, there's going to be a honeymoon phase where I watch the audience pretty intently just to see the engagement, and most people have a beer in each hand, and they're BSing with the guy beside them and not even watching the game. So I would suggest that sooner or later, the crowd's going to become more interested in the actual team and the program and what we're doing on the ice and how competitive we are. But right now, I think it's pure entertainment for them to get out and whatnot. So our job over the next few years is to make sure we've got a very good product that they enjoy watching. And but I from all indicators, I think the community was really engaged and enjoyed it. I know right near the end of the year, there was a game we lost, like, I don't know, 6-1 or something. We scored in the last 2 minutes and we got a standing ovation. It was like, and we were awful. And I'm thinking, wow, you know, they just really supported us really well. So it was really good. But yeah, that's a good point. I don't know from each community. I think it's pretty broad-based, to be honest.
Yeah, Chair, I think he was describing our board night down
Yeah.
there when he's talking about people now watching the game with beer in each hand. But yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Right on. Thank you very much. Any other questions from directors? If not, thank you, Mr. Hopper, for coming.
Thank you very much.
Looking forward to the next time we see you. All right. Directors, may I have a motion to receive the delegation materials and all reports and communications, please? Moved, seconded. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So with that, we're going to move on to item 6.1. Committee of the Whole meeting recommendations 1 through 6 of June 26th, 2025. I do have my control panel working now. Directors, are there any of these recommendations that you wish to pull to debate separately before we adopt the block? If not, can I have a motion to, endorse the block? Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Now, just before we move on, I do have one motion that I would like to put forward. Given the amount of items that we were sort of dealing with in that agenda and a lot of contract extensions or increases, things of that nature. So the motion that I'm going to put forward here would be that a comprehensive report on recent project budget overruns be presented in early Q4 2025 that includes 1, analysis of the primary factors contributing to recent project cost overruns, 2, review of current project budgeting, forecasting, and cost control procedures, and 3, recommendations, potential policies, and best practices that will support budgeting, accuracy, accountability, risk management, and better financial oversight of future projects. So that's a motion that I would like to make in relation to these minutes that we just, these recommendations we just adopted, and I have a seconder. So speaking to the motion, Director Inkster?
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I've seen this motion before. You have sent it to it, which is appreciated when they come additional to the agenda. There's a number of pieces in here that you're requesting of staff. So I'm assuming that conversation, based on what you said, has been had with the CAO. You're just looking for our sort of stamp on that to proceed. So it's doable with this. All this is what you're thinking. This is all doable.
Yes.
Okay.
This follows on a couple of conversations that Chair and Vice Chair have had, with CAO. We've sort of talked about it a fair bit because, from our perspective as the, policy, budgetary oversight side of things, like, I don't know if anybody actually really felt good leaving that meeting where we had all of these increases that we had to, we really didn't have a choice. We had to approve them. And I think we need to get a little more information about sort of where we, how we got there, how we might mitigate some of these going forward. And opportunities to maybe tighten up some process, that sort of thing. And so there is a lot of a lot of terms and a lot of catchment in here. But I know that staff are sort of cognizant of what it is that we're trying to seek some clarification on and some further information. Director McMahon.
Yes, there have been a lot of rocks and hard places lately. And it really is awkward when, not just once, but sometimes twice, we're getting cost increases on projects. And we're not in a position to say no, because some of them are absolutely critical. Chester Well comes to mind as a critical project. So yeah, I would appreciate this. I think the public deserve the full transparency and accountability that we can deliver as a board.
Thank you, Director McMahon. Any other discussion on the motion? If not, I will call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you, directors. All right, moving on in our agenda to item 6.2, which is Seaview Cemetery Infill Construction Award Report. And we'll turn this over to our Parks Planning and Community Development Coordinator.
Thank you, Chair. This report summarizes a procurement process for the construction phase of the Seaview Cemetery project. This phase will address the immediate need for cemetery burial spaces. Options and recommendations are provided within the report for board decision, and staff are here to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Short and to the point, always appreciated. Directors, we do have the report in front of us. Is there any questions? Director McMahon.
Yes, this was a somewhat quaint report. The Cemetery Infill Award sounds kind of Addams Family, especially with the hydrovac company getting involved. However, this process has been going on for some time. It's getting more urgent. We need to get it done. I'm happy to move the recommendations on page 15 of my agenda.
Thank you very much. And I've got a Director Stamford seconding that. All right. Is there further discussion on the motion that's now on the floor? If not, I will call the question. This is voting all directors. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you very much. Oh, go ahead, Director McMahon.
Sorry, I apologize. I was at the cemetery recently taking photos of the water course that the highway department has wished to cross our cemetery, but it is rather scenic. Yes. So in the course of doing the stormwater management, are we going to perhaps make the most of this asset?
That's a good, is that even, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, thank you for the question and through the chair. So that's not part of what we're doing right now. That's a part of this project, but not this phase of the project. Definitely, I think if what I heard was correct, that environmental considerations will be taken in, and it's a riparian corridor, needs to be maintained as such.
Thank you. All right. Then with that, we will move on. Thank you very much. All right. And next up, we have item 6.3, which is RFP 2522201, Contract Award, Sunshine Coast Multimodal Evacuation Plan and Routes. And we've got the Acting Senior Manager of Emergency and Protective Services, Chief Michael. Take it away.
Thank you. I have not prepared an introduction, except for the fact that I will highlight that this is grant funded from the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund, and looking for board support to award this contract.
Great. Thank you very much. Director Bax.
Thank you. I'm glad to see that we've got a company that's willing to undertake this project. And my question has to do with public input through, if there's any idea how how the Emergency Management Group Incorporated will be engaging with local knowledge keepers on the ground, and if there's is there a scope of work for us to peruse at some point, perhaps offline. But I just want to know that there are concerns in certain areas for emergency evacuation, and I want to know that the public has a say in voicing these concerns.
Thank you, Director Bax. Now, given that you're acting in this role at the moment, do you actually have an answer to that question, or will we have to follow up offline?
What I can say is that I'm sure that there is public consultation as part of this, and I have written a note to make sure that we are including local knowledge keepers, but from my recollection, that was identified in the bid.
Okay, thank you. I know that is commonly a frustration point for members of our community when an off-coast consultant comes in to do, whatever project it might be and presents things that are not in alignment with what the locals understand, right? So, yeah, appreciate that comment, Director Bax. Director Inkster.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. And it is true. A lot of locals know that there's access roads that aren't on the map. And there's ways through places that aren't on the map that local outside of town groups wouldn't put on an evacuation plan. And we're like, well, you missed that whole large dirt road of quality standards. So we need to be mindful of that. Generally, this plan, I think we've been talking about this for some time. The board about looking at all these things, including preparedness, but also how to get the heck away from that, in this case, mostly fire that we're concerned about. So I obviously in support of this. As I've said a number of times, although we all are dealing with one highway, that's a huge challenge for the Sunshine Coast. I guess you can go north or south, as long as it's not blocked. I'm concerned in Seashelt will always talk about and continue to talk about the inlet and the access for evacuation in those areas. Not a lot of people, but that's their big concern, is how to evacuate, and I'm sure you've heard that, so certainly supportive. And as they consult the community, it'd be interesting to see what plans they come up with to try to get people off of, if there's a problem, try to get them onto the water and somewhere else. That's the interesting piece. Thanks, Chair.
Director Inkster, are you supportive enough to move the recommendations?
I can do that.
Thank you, and I've got a seconder for that. Director Bax.
I was going to move the recommendations, but I do have one word for emergency evacuation to the water, and it's Dunkirk.
He means lots of boats.
Thank you, Director Bax.
Lots of boats.
Okay, is there any further discussion on the motion? This is also voting all directors as a weighted vote. I don't see any hands. I don't see any virtual hands. I will call the question. All those in favor? And any opposed? That motion is carried. Excellent. Thank you, Chief Michael. Next up, we have item 7.1, communications from Sunshine Coast Tourism. And this is regarding the renewal of the MRDT. And so, directors, we have that in our agenda. I believe it's on page 20 if you're in the PDF. Yeah, seeking sort of letter of support for the renewal of the MRDT. We do have Annie Wise here from Sunshine Coast Tourism if we've got any questions for her. But otherwise, I will look to my directors. Director Inkster.
Yeah, thanks. I've talked about this a number of times over a number of years since I've been an elected official. It's good to finally see it a number of years ago. And it was done so nicely that I don't think the elected officials had to deal with a lot of the pushback. So good on the groups involved. I certainly support the program. And if it's deemed that we have to do a slight increase, I would move that motion as well, to put a letter of support in front of that, to continue with the program, with the funding program. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, just before I get to a motion, I apologize, Director White. I missed your physical hand. I saw the speakers list, so if you wanted to go ahead and speak.
Yeah, I guess the town hasn't had a chance. We're getting this separately, so I need to look at this regionally today, though it makes me wonder if I should have a vote. But is this just for the rural areas, or is it?
That's a good question. And I,
No votes to display.
corporate officer?
Is that a voting question? It would be
Yes.
the entire board that would vote on this motion.
Okay, thank
So
you.
I get to vote twice on it then, I guess, but, yeah, I haven't had a chance to talk to my council about this, but I know one concern we will probably have is again about the allocation of the affordable housing funds, which I've spoken extensively to Sunshine Coast Tourism about in the past. You know, we have this on, and it's just a frustrating challenge for them too, in that we have this issue where the province collects some money and it doesn't necessarily even, definitely doesn't even transparently share with us where the money is being collected from. But I think one thing, kind of in reflection of how things are going, especially in terms of, it doesn't even have much to do with where the money's going right now, but where all the efforts that we as a municipality are putting in towards affordable housing, and even requests of us, and looking at our official community plan, in terms of like looking at opportunities like waiving DCCs and things like that happen in other communities. We can't do that because we don't have the funds for it. So we would like a model where the funding, a portion of the funding for the town is channeled back to the town so we can directly support affordable housing initiatives and actually make a difference on the ground in those affordable housing initiatives. In my discussions with Sunshine Coast Tourism, there's not a clear way to do that yet. And that's frustrating. And it's not Sunshine Coast Tourism's fault, it's a provincial problem. But I think, you know, until the province solves that, or addresses that we're in a weird position on this, like, because I would like to see, and maybe hopefully maybe Annie can reflect on this if we can give her an opportunity. But yeah, it's frustrating, and we may not be supporting this because of that frustration.
Okay, thank you, Director White. Annie, did you want to come up to the mic and, yeah? You can use the one at the desk, sure. Just gotta push the button to turn it on.
The red, oh,
Green,
green. Green is good.
green is good.
Sorry, I'm just wrapping my head around the comments. So the portion of the MRDT that is designated for affordable housing, the regional district has, excuse me, has the flexibility to define the affordable housing projects that it will fund with that portion of the funding, as has been done since that regulation came into effect in late 2018. And so I guess from Sunshine Coast Tourism's perspective, if the regional board decides to use that funding differently, again, still for affordable housing, but on a different project than, say, has been what's been funded the last several years, that's up to the regional board to decide. We are not being prescriptive in that. And so if the regional board decided to disperse that money differently, or share it across the municipalities along with the rural areas, that's up to the board to decide. Does that help?
Thank you for that. Yeah, I think fundamentally what's in front of us today is, you know, whether we support the renewal of the MRDT as well as the lift from 2% to 3%, I think is the fundamental basics of the ask today, right?
Yeah, yes, that's correct. And I think the important thing to keep in mind is that there's a timeline on this, and that if we don't get the support from all the local governments, then we can't renew, which means that there is no MRDT funding for anything, not for tourism, not for affordable housing, none. And so it's really important, and I understand that there are pieces of it that need to have continued conversations, but not supporting it, means, we would lose out on that program in its entirety.
Thank you. Director Inkster.
Yeah, I'm not clear where the process went earlier, Chair. I did say I would support
Yes.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I've introduced that, but
So
yeah,
because I had missed Director White's hand, I wanted to make sure that his comments were
heard?
not tied to the motion necessarily because his hand was up before yours. So, that being said, I think the motion that I heard you make was something akin to that the SCRD provide a letter of support to Sunshine Coast Tourism for the renewal of the MRDT, including an increase to 3%.
Yeah, and I'll speak to it when it's seconded, Chair.
Sure. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Director McMahon. Did you want to speak to it again?
Yeah, as I said already, good on the group for getting this done over a number of years. Didn't necessarily bring in the local governments that tend to get a lot of pushback sometimes from businesses that think it will hurt their business. But we all know that there's intrinsic benefits with being part of a program that supports all local organizations to promote those same businesses. I'll continue to support this because what I found a number of years ago was if we didn't support a tourism body and their marketing arm, and they didn't exist because we didn't support them and or help them fund themselves, it would come back to local government to do a lot of those economic development and tourist type support mechanisms with committees and funding. So in a sense, this saves us some money by having an organization, in a sense, raise their own money through the MRDT. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Director McMahon?
Yes, having been here through a couple of these cycles now, there was a lot of appetite in the past from local government to raise it to 3% because we might as well, tax to the maximum we can for the value of this program. And it isn't a perfect program, and I certainly would like to see more transparency on where the funds are coming from. But I think it's delivering a good benefit to us, and I definitely support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Bax?
So on that line, I just wanted to get some clarification on the benefits that we are receiving through this fund, and I'm absolutely in support of this. So we are currently using these funds to engage our affordable housing. Are we not, what are we using these funds for at the moment?
So it's in the report that's attached,
Okay.
or the document that's attached. But for those that might not have the time necessarily.
Sorry.
Annie, did you want to provide just like a 2-sentence or 3-sentence breakdown of the MRDT as a program?
Are you asking specifically about the affordable housing portion or all of it?
Part of it.
Yes. No, I was talking about our engagement of Ms. Foley as our affordable housing coordinator. Is she not being paid through this fund?
The online accommodation platform funding or portion of the revenues that comes back to the regional district is used for the affordable housing coordinator, as well as some supplemental resources in regional planning. But it's not the only thing the MRDT funds. The MRDT also funds Sunshine Coast Tourism. Was that the question?
Yes. Yes, but I was going to say that I do understand the frustrations that some of the municipalities feel in that they are carrying some of the extra weight of affordable housing. And I would be I would be open in discussions as to how the funds were distributed in the future.
I think an allocation question is perfectly appropriate at a future date, but not really relevant to the moment of the motion that's on the floor currently. So, Director McMahon, did you have your hand up again still, or am I frozen? Okay. Any further questions or discussion on the motion? If not, I will call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much, and thank you for being here. Answer some questions for us. Oh, okay, that concludes 7.1. We have no motions, we have no bylaws. We struck directors' reports for today, and we have no new business. We have no in-camera. We have no release of items from in-camera. So which takes us to adjournment. Directors, can I have a motion to adjourn? Moved, seconded, all those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much. Are there any questions from online? No? Then we will see you at the next one.